Hello students, in this video I will explain about the different types of intermolecular forces exhibited among molecules of substances and about thermal energy. Now what are intermolecular forces? Forces of attraction and repulsion existing between atoms and molecules of a substance when they interact with one another are called intermolecular forces. And this is different from the electrostatic forces of attraction existing between two oppositely charged ions and also the forces that hold atoms of a molecule together. So intermolecular forces are different from electrostatic forces of attraction operating in ions and covalent bonds. I told you that there are two kinds of forces operating between molecules of a substance. What are they? Attractive intermolecular forces and repulsive intermolecular forces. Attractive intermolecular forces are known as van der Waals forces. The attractive intermolecular forces are called van der Waals forces in honor of the Dutch scientist Johannes van der Waals. Now, what is the definition of van der Waals forces? The attractive intermolecular forces due to dispersion or London forces, dipole-dipole forces, and dipole-induced dipole forces are collectively called van der Waals forces. And it was van der Waals who first explained the deviation of real gases from ideal behavior due to these forces. Now, note that the attractive forces between an ion and a dipole are known as ion-dipole forces, and these are strictly not van der Waals forces. Clear? The ion-dipole forces are not van der Waals forces. Only dispersion or London forces, dipole-dipole forces, and dipole-induced dipole forces belong to van der Waals force category. Clear? Now, shall we learn about the different types of van der Waals forces? Now, let us first learn about dispersion or London forces, which are a type of van der Waals forces. These forces are found in non-polar molecules like oxygen, nitrogen, chlorine, and so on, as well as in monoatomic noble gases like helium, neon, argon, and so on. Why? This is because atoms and non-polar molecules are electrically symmetrical. And what do you mean by this term, electrically symmetrical? It means there is equal distribution of positive and negative charges in an atom or a molecule. Then there won't be any charge separation in such an atom or a molecule. So in other words, such an atom or a molecule fails to develop a positive and a negative pole. Okay, so they have no dipole. As a result, they won't have any dipole moment also. Okay, but a dipole may develop temporarily for a short while even in such atoms and molecules, and this may lead to attractive interactions in them. This force of interaction was first proposed by the German physicist Fritz London. For this reason, force of attraction between two temporary dipoles is known as London forces. These forces are always attractive and are important only at very short distances, that is approximately when the molecules are 500 picometers apart from one another. Okay, their magnitude depends on the polarizability of the molecule. What is polarizability? We studied about this in chapter 4 itself. Polarizability means the tendency to get polarized by another atom or molecule. Okay, and the magnitude of the attractive interactions depends on the polarizability of the atom or molecule involved. Now let us try to understand how London forces come to play in two non-polar atoms. Suppose there are two atoms, atom A and atom B, that are very close to each other. And note that these two are non-polar atoms. Clear? As you can see, there is symmetric distribution of the negatively charged electron cloud around the positively charged nucleus of these two atoms. In other words, there is equilibrium between the positive and negative charges in both non-polar atoms A and B. And you know that the electrons in atoms and molecules are not stationary, they are constantly moving. And when they constantly move, there comes an instant. Okay, it's a possibility. There comes just an instant when the electron cloud of atom A are at one side of the atom, so that one part of the molecule becomes slightly more negative than the rest. In this way, for just a moment, the equilibrium between the positive and negative charges of atom A gets disturbed. This is how the nonpolar atom A develops a dipole for an instant because of the movement of electrons and is called instantaneous dipole. See, now just for a moment, there is charge separation in the otherwise nonpolar atom A. See, here on one side there is a positive charge and on the other side there is negative charge. So when a dipole is created in an atom A, the negative charge of atom A would now start attracting the positive charge of the neighboring atom B. At the same time, it would repel the negative charge of atom B. Due to this, the negative charge of atom B gets pushed to the other side. See, the negative charge of atom B is pushed to the other side and a temporary dipole is created in atom B too. This is how a dipole is induced in atom B. Now you have a positive charge here and a negative charge here. Now what will opposite charges do? They would attract. The temporary dipoles of atom A and B would now attract each other. In a nonpolar substance, there would be n number of atoms. So when one of the atoms develops a temporary dipole for an instant, a large number of adjacent atoms, nonpolar atoms in the substance would become temporarily polar, leading to weak attractions between them. So this is about London forces, which are weak attractive forces in two nonpolar atoms. Formation of temporary dipoles in nonpolar molecules can also be explained in the same manner. Okay, London forces are very weak and they are known to operate in all types of molecules. The energy due to the attractive interaction between two interacting nonpolar atoms or nonpolar molecules is inversely proportional to the sixth power of the distance between the two interacting particles. Okay, particles can be atoms or molecules provided they are nonpolar. Here, r is the distance between those two interacting particles. Next, I will explain about another type of van der Waals force called dipole-dipole forces. These forces are found in polar molecules with permanent dipoles such as hydrogen chloride, hydrogen bromide, hydrogen sulfide, and so on. See, in these molecules, by nature, there is charge separation because one of the atoms involved in these molecules is more electronegative when compared to the other atom bonded to it. Okay, so such molecules possess partial charges of opposite sign at their ends, and these charges are shown by the Greek letter delta. Okay, see how the positive and negative charge separation is indicated by opposite sign at their ends using Greek letter delta in HCl molecule. Okay, now in HCl molecule, we know chlorine is more electronegative. So, chlorine has the tendency to attract the shared pair of electron towards itself. Okay, so as a result, chlorine acquires a slight negative charge and hydrogen acquires a slight positive charge. So when you have adjacent hydrogen chloride molecules, what will happen? How will dipole-dipole forces operate between them? The negative pole of one molecule will attract the positive pole of another hydrogen chloride molecule. The negative end of this hydrogen chloride molecule would attract the positive pole of another hydrogen chloride molecule, and this goes on like a network. So this is how dipole-dipole attractive interactions occur in polar molecules. Now, in stationary polar molecules like that in solids, the energy of attractive interactions between two neighboring polar molecules will be inversely proportional to the third power of the distance between the two interacting polar molecules. If the polar molecules are rotating, then the energy of attractive interaction between the two rotating polar molecules will be inversely proportional to the sixth power of the distance between the two rotating polar molecules. Here R denotes the distance between two polar molecules. Okay. Polar molecules are also known to interact by means of London forces also. Okay, so in polar molecules, how many forces operate? Both dipole-dipole forces and London forces are known to operate. So if that is so, this leads to an increase in the value of intermolecular forces operating in them. Clear? The third type of van der Waals forces is dipole-induced dipole forces. These type of forces are found in a mixture containing polar and non-polar molecules. Examples for such mixtures are mixture of hydrogen fluoride and oxygen, hydrogen chloride and nitrogen, and so on. Now, if you look at this mixture, hydrogen fluoride is the polar molecule and oxygen is a non-polar molecule. Okay, here hydrogen chloride is the polar molecule and nitrogen is the non-polar molecule. Now, how will dipole-induced dipole forces come into play when a polar molecule is brought near a non-polar molecule? Let's see. See here, when a non-polar molecule is brought near a polar molecule, the positive end of the polar molecule would attract the negatively charged electron cloud of the electrically symmetrical or neutral non-polar molecule. Okay, at the same time, the positive end of the polar molecule would repel the positive charge of the non-polar molecule to one end. Due to this, the positive charge of this molecule gets pushed to the other end, and as a result, a temporary dipole would develop in the otherwise non-polar molecule. Okay, this is how an induced dipole is developed in the non-polar molecule. Now, we have a positive pole here and we have a negative pole here, and this leads to attractive interactions between polar molecule and the induced dipole of the non-polar molecule. Okay, so this is about dipole and induced dipole forces of interaction existing between polar and non-polar molecule. Now, the induced dipole moment in non-polar molecule depends on two factors. First one is the dipole moment of polar molecule and second one is the polarizability of the non-polar molecule. Now, what do we mean by dipole moment? Dipole moment is nothing but a parameter that lets you understand how polar a molecule is. So, the induced dipole moment in non-polar molecule depends on how polar a molecule is. Clear? And it also depends on the ease with which the non-polar molecule gets polarized, and that is given by polarizability. Okay, and we have already learnt in chapter 4 that molecules of larger size can be easily polarized. Okay, so these factors determine the induced dipole moment in non-polar molecule. The higher the polarizability of the non-polar molecule, greater would be the strength of attractive interactions between polar molecule and non-polar molecule. Clear? Now, the energy due to attractive interactions between a polar molecule and a non-polar molecule is inversely proportional to the sixth power of the distance between the polar molecule and the non-polar molecule. Here, R is the distance between the polar molecule and the non-polar molecule. Clear? Now, I will explain about hydrogen bonding, which is a special case of dipole-dipole interaction. Now, how are hydrogen bonds formed? When hydrogen atom is covalently bonded to an atom of a highly electronegative element such as fluorine, oxygen or nitrogen, the shared pair of electrons between the two atoms moves away from hydrogen atom. As a result, hydrogen atom becomes highly electropositive with respect to the atom of electronegative element. Since the shared pair of electron is slightly displaced towards the more electronegative atom, hydrogen acquires a fractional or partial positive charge and the electronegative atom acquires a partial negative charge. Okay, this results in electrostatic force of attraction between the partially polarized hydrogen atom of one molecule and the negatively polarized electronegative atom of a neighboring molecule. So this is called hydrogen bonding. Okay, the attraction between the positively polarized hydrogen atom of one molecule and the negatively polarized electronegative atom of a neighboring molecule is called hydrogen bonding. Okay, hydrogen bonding is seen in hydrogen fluoride molecules. Here, since fluorine is highly electronegative, what will happen? Fluorine will attract the shared pair of electron towards itself. As a result, the shared pair of electrons between hydrogen and fluorine atoms will shift towards the more electronegative fluorine atom. As a result, hydrogen acquires a partial positive charge and fluorine acquires a partial negative charge. And when there are so many hydrogen fluoride molecules in the vicinity, what will happen? There will be electrostatic attraction between hydrogen atom of one HF molecule and fluorine atom of another HF molecule. So this is how hydrogen bonding occurs in molecules in which a hydrogen atom is covalently bonded to any of the three atoms, that is fluorine, oxygen or nitrogen atom. Okay, only when hydrogen is covalently bonded to any of the three elements, that is fluorine, oxygen or nitrogen atoms, hydrogen bonding is said to happen. Okay, otherwise it is not a hydrogen bond. What is the definition of hydrogen bond? It is defined as the attractive force. Okay, it is an attractive force which binds hydrogen atom of one molecule with the electronegative atom of another molecule. Okay, and the electronegative atom should be either a fluorine atom or an oxygen atom or a nitrogen atom. Okay, only then the bond established is a hydrogen bond. Okay, now hydrogen bonds are represented by a dotted line and a covalent bond is represented by a solid line. Now look at the hydrogen bonding in ammonia molecules. Okay, here in an ammonia molecule, the nitrogen atom is covalently bonded to three hydrogen atoms by means of single bonds. Okay, and each nitrogen hydrogen bond is a covalent bond and that is represented by a solid line. Clear? And here the nitrogen of one ammonia molecule involves in hydrogen bonding with the hydrogen of another ammonia molecule in the vicinity. Okay, and the hydrogen bonding here is represented by a dotted line. Note that a hydrogen bond is weaker than a covalent bond. Some examples of compounds exhibiting hydrogen bonds are water, ammonia, and alcohols. See, this is how hydrogen bonding occurs in water molecules and this is how it occurs in ammonia molecules. Though hydrogen bonding is limited to nitrogen, oxygen, and fluorine, species such as Cl- may also participate in hydrogen bonding in rare cases. This is just for your information, students. Okay. Now, energy of hydrogen bond varies between 10 to 100 kilojoules per mole. And the magnitude of hydrogen bonding depends on the physical state of the compound. Hydrogen bonding is found to be maximum in the solid state and it is minimum in the gaseous state. And for this reason, hydrogen bonds greatly influence the structure and properties of many compounds like proteins and nucleic acids. Okay, now the strength of the hydrogen bond is determined by the Coulombic interaction between lone pair electrons of the electronegative atom of one molecule and the hydrogen atom of other molecule. This is how we determine the strength of hydrogen bond. Hydrogen bonds are of two types. First type is intermolecular hydrogen bond. It is formed between two different molecules of the same or different compounds. Hydrogen bonds in hydrogen fluoride molecule, alcohol, water molecule, ammonia molecule and so on are some examples of intermolecular hydrogen bond. We just saw how intermolecular hydrogen bond is established in hydrogen fluoride molecules, water molecules and ammonia molecules. Okay, now we move on to the second type of hydrogen bond, which is intramolecular hydrogen bond. Okay, intramolecular hydrogen bond is formed when hydrogen atom is present in between two highly electronegative atoms, and that too which atoms? Fluorine atom or oxygen atom or nitrogen atom. Okay, within the same molecule. Okay, such a hydrogen bond is called intramolecular hydrogen bond, and some examples for compounds which exhibit intramolecular hydrogen bonds and orthonitrophenol, salicylic acid, salicylaldehyde, and so on. Here, this is the structure of orthonitrophenol, and you can see that here there is this hydrogen atom which is present between two highly electronegative oxygen atoms within the same orthonitrophenol molecule. Okay, and you can see that a hydrogen bond is established between hydrogen atom and the electronegative oxygen atom of the same molecule. And this hydrogen bond is known as intramolecular hydrogen bond. Okay, all this time I was explaining about attractive interactions in molecules. Now I will explain about repulsive interactions in molecules. Just like attractive forces, molecules also exert repulsive forces on one another. When two molecules are brought closer to each other, repulsive forces begin to operate in them between the electron clouds of the two molecules and the nuclei of the two molecules. The magnitude of repulsion increases rapidly with decrease in the distance between the molecules. For this reason, it is hard to compress solids and liquids. That is, in solids and liquids, the molecules are already in close contact with one another. As a result, they resist further compression, as that would result in increase of repulsive forces between molecules. The next concept that I will deal now is about thermal energy. What is thermal energy? It is the energy possessed by molecule arising from motion of its atoms and molecules. So what is thermal energy? It is the energy possessed by a molecule due to the motion of its atoms and molecules. Okay, thermal energy is directly proportional to the temperature of a substance. So if a substance is very hot, if the temperature of the substance is very high, then look at the motion of the atoms and molecules of that substance. The atoms and molecules of the hot substance is found to move at greater speeds. So what will happen to the thermal energy? Thermal energy will increase. Now if the substance is not hot, if the temperature is less, what will happen to the motion of the atoms and molecules of the substance? They will move with lesser speeds. So what will happen to the thermal energy possessed by molecules of that substance? It will also decrease. Okay, so thermal energy is directly proportional to temperature of the substance. So thermal energy will be high when the temperature of the substance is very high, and thermal energy will be less when temperature of the substance is less. Okay, so thermal energy is the measure of average kinetic energy of the particles of the matter. Particles in the sense atoms or molecules of the substance. So thermal energy is nothing but it is the average kinetic energy of the particles of a substance. Okay, and the movement of particles, motion of particles is otherwise called thermal motion. So when will thermal motion of particles of a substance increase? When the temperature of the substance increases, thermal motion increases. As a result, thermal energy will increase. When the temperature of the particle of a substance decreases, the thermal motion of particles of the substance would decrease, and as a result, thermal energy also would decrease. Okay, so this is about thermal energy. Intermolecular forces versus thermal interactions. The main difference between intermolecular forces and thermal interactions is that while intermolecular forces tend to keep the molecules together, thermal energy of molecules tend to keep them apart. The three states of matter are the result of balance between intermolecular forces and thermal energy of molecules. Competition between these two types of interactions decides whether a substance would exist as a gas, as a liquid, or as a solid. In gases, the intermolecular forces of attraction are weakest while thermal energy is highest, and this is manifested as thermal motion of its molecules. In solids, the intermolecular forces of attraction are strongest while thermal energy is minimum. So let me ask you a question. Is it possible to liquefy gases by compression alone? No, it is not possible to liquefy gases by compression alone. Although on compression, molecules come very close to each other and intermolecular forces of attraction between molecules are maximum, they still don't liquefy. Only when you lower the temperature, gases will get easily liquefied. Why? On lowering the temperature, thermal energy of gas will get reduced. As a result, molecules will move with lesser speeds. As a result, they will come closer to each other, and finally they will easily get liquefied. So this will happen only when thermal motion of the molecules are reduced by lowering the temperature. So with this, I wind up my video on intermolecular interactions, hydrogen bonding, then thermal energy, and intermolecular forces versus thermal interactions. Thank you for watching.